Good day, friends. New project, something very, very nice again. But everything we get in is nice. That's right. So here we go, and you'll know it straight away. You're going to be saying that's a PRS, Harris, and you'll be absolutely right. Look at that. It's beautiful. Neck plate, blah 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 blah. Anyway, PRS CE. Don't know how many frets it's got. What's it got? 15, 17, 19, 21. So it's a 24 fret. 24 frets. That's it. That's all I know about it. Bit of a tremolo on there. Not set very well, so we're going to set the tremolo. The screws are all over the place. It's a 6-point screw tremolo. These need setting right. We use the 2 outside ones as a pivots, and the 4 in the middle. We tighten and bring it up to the plate, then knock it back a quarter turn. So what's this need? Well, it just needs a setup and a new set of strings. Strings on here are a bit fat. They're very fat. It's probably a 1256 set by the looks. 1254, 1356. So we're going to set it up for, I believe, 10s. And all being well, we shouldn't need to touch any of the frets. I will go across with a fret rocker and we'll see where we are. So we have push-pull on the tone. Beautiful, beautiful pickups. I was told what these were, but I forgot. So your guess is as good as mine. If you know, leave it in the comment section, and then I'll know, won't I? PRS tuners, non-lock-in. It's got a serial number on there. It'll be a 2016 model because it's got a 16 on there. They're very fine looking instruments, and we all know that PRS make fantastic guitars. Anyway, tremolo arm, I've been told, is in the carry case, in the bag there, gig bag. So I'll get that out, we'll get the tremolo all set up, we'll get some new strings on. We'll check the frets along the way. And if anything untoward happens during this, while I'm doing all this and setting it up, I will come back and let you know. But if not, it's probably going to be a pretty straightforward setup. I will come back and show you little bits now and again. So stay tuned, and I'll see you soon. Well, did I say they're regular PRS tuners? I was completely wrong. Of course, they're locking tuners. They're lockable from the top, and I knew that. I just failed to register it in my mind, so I forgot to, so I didn't say it. Anyway, moving on. Took the strings off, as you can see. Leveled the neck. Went across with a fret rocker. Frets on this are absolutely fine. Not one high fret anywhere in any place. So, absolutely fantastic. I took the back covers off. I didn't need to take the electrics cover off, but I did because I'm nosy and I wanted to go and have a look inside and see what the wiring was like inside there, and it's really quite nice. It's not bad at all. Nice and neat. All standard in there. All good parts. I imagine that's a Switchcraft 3-way there as well. So yeah, very, very nice. 4 springs. We have to take the back off there anyway because we're going to reset the tremolo completely. Nice big steel block. I imagine it's steel, but a nice big block on that. So that's what I like about PRS. The attention to detail and the quality of the parts, even down to these little strap buttons on here. They're just really good quality, and they're actually wider than normal ones, and they're going to hold better. So yeah, fantastic. So all I really need to do with this is I'm going to oil the fingerboard. I am going to polish the frets, and then I'm going to clean up the tremolo, clean everything, clean the pickups, blah 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 blah, and then I'm going to set the tremolo. We're going to get some new strings on there, some 942s. And I may come back and show you how to set this tremolo properly. There's a nice radius going off on, well, I say nice, it's not that nice. It's a little bit skew width. Don't know if you can see from where you are. We'll get that all levelled out and sorted, and should be pretty straightforward. Tremolos, always a little bit of a bind to set up, especially these floating ones. It's why I charge £10 extra for setting a tremolo, £15 extra for a Floyd Rose. Because it takes time getting this balance right. You do have to balance it, and you're balancing the string tension against the springs at the back, and you want it, when you've wibbled your tremolo backwards or forwards, you want it to go back exactly to pitch, and that takes some setting. Not majorly difficult, but you have to know what you're doing. So I may come back and show you how I do that, and you may just learn something. Moving on, I've given the fingerboard a little squirt of mineral oil, as you can see. Going to let that soak in a good 15 minutes, but while that is soaking in, I'll show you what I use. this stuff, commonly called lemon oil. It's not lemon oil, it's mineral oil with some lemon in there to make it smell nice. Specially formulated gumption for wooden fretboards. I imagine pal ferro, rosewood, ebony, all these kinds of woods. Specially formulated. It's not going to damage your guitar. Anyway, people say lemon oil will rip your guitar to pieces. Well, it's not lemon oil, it's mineral oil with lemon in it. Lemon oil would really probably cause a lot of damage, yes. I admit that, but it's not lemon oil, it's called lemon oil. So why that is happening, that is soaking in, I'm going to take a fingerboard guard, like so, and I'm going to polish the frets. And I'll use a thin one at the top end, because it will go between frets. And I'm just going to polish just with a little bit of steel wool. I have the guitar pickups, this pickup is covered, so we don't get any filings in there. We won't get any filings in there anyway. But I'm going to do that while the oil is soaking in. And then I'm going to leave it, and when I wipe the oil off, we'll wipe it off all filings as well. So I'm going to crack on with that, get that done, and we can move on to the next part of the process, which will be restringing and setting the tremolo. Okay, so when we're restringing a guitar with the tremolo on, we need, or it's kind of imperative, that we get the tremolo perpendicular to the body itself, or perfectly horizontal. And how I do that with one of these floating type tremolos is like this. I place a stack of business cards underneath, and I'm really not doing a good advert there, am I? I'll point them that way. I should have had them the other way. So let's get a stack of my business cards and let's stick them on there, and let's at least get some advertising on there. Like so, a stack of business cards, and you'll see, you'll probably even see better this way, the business cards are holding that tremolo perfectly level where I need it to be. And now I can put the strings on. And with the strings on, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to set these screws, and the two outside screws are going to be all the way in, and the four in the middle are going to be slightly raised half a turn, because we're going to use these two as like fulcrum pivots. So that is how we are going to set the tremolo. Once the tremolo is done, with the business cards on there and that, what I will do is, I'll tighten these springs up a notch. What that means is, when I remove these business cards, the tremolo is going to pull back. But what I'll do is, I'll have the guitar in tune before I remove the business cards. And when it pulls back, it'll knock it all out of tune, everything will go sharp. But what I then do is, I then loosen the spring claw at the back until the tremolo comes back to a horizontal position. And I'll be plucking the A string. And once the A string is in tune, all the other strings will fall in tune, because the tremolo will be perpendicular to the body where it was before, but it will be fully floating. And that is how we set that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get the strings on. Once I have the strings on, I'm going to come back again, and I'm going to show you how we get everything set up. And I'm going to tune the guitar in, I'm going to set the intonation, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how we set this tremolo floating. And by floating I mean it's going to be above the body, we're going to pull it back, and we're going to dive bomb forwards. So very, very simple method, but very useful, and really, really a good thing to have on a guitar if you get it set up right. The thing with a tremolo is about getting that balance right. You must stretch your strings fully, otherwise you ain't going to get it floating perfectly, and it's never going to come back in tune. But we will get this to always come back in tune. Just need to be patient. Well, welcome back, fret friends, and we have a little bit of a problem with the light this morning, because it is an absolutely wonderful sunshiny morning, and it's only about 7 o'clock in the morning, and the sun is blaring through my workshop window, but it's facing the camera, so I've had to draw the blind. So I'm going to make do today. So you'll see I now have the guitar on the bench, I have the strings on, and I'm going to do a couple of things. And what I'm going to do first is, I'm going to test the action of these strings. That looks pretty good at the nut end. I'm going to check the action at the 12th fret for now, and that's low. Now I know this player likes the strings low, but he does like them too low, and there's, you know, we can't go super low all the time. So what I'm going to do is, we're going to tune the guitar in for starters. We'll get it close. So that's pretty close. we're going to stretch the strings in. You'll notice I've still got the business cards under the bridge at this end. I'll show you all about that shortly. But we're going to stretch these strings in. The reason why we need to stretch these strings in, it means we'll be at the correct tension, and then we can set the relief in the neck. So I'm going to stretch these strings in, just blah 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 blah. I'm going to do this off camera, and I'll come back and we'll carry on from there. So moving on, I've got the strings to pitch. Not worried about the nut end just yet. We're going to now concentrate on this end of the guitar. And what we're going to do is, I've set the height above the 12th fret of the strings. We have 1.6mm on the low E and about 1.4mm on the high E. Now, that to me is a low setting. I get people come in and we're expecting on a heavy metal guitar to get their action down to 1mm at the 12th fret. Let me tell you something. That is possible, but not all the time. When you're smacking these strings really hard, right, they're going to vibrate more. If you're 1mm from the top of this fret, you're going to get a buzz. I cannot deal with people saying, oh, I've had it low before, blah, 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 blah. And this guitar, for instance, I've set the relief so small, the neck is virtually straight. I don't like having a perfectly straight neck because your strings vibrate more and you're going to get buzzed. So I put a little bit of relief in there, which is a little bit of dip that way, like a smile along the length of the neck. I always put a little bit in, but I've put a tiny bit in here. Now the thing is, I set up lots of guitars and I do this for a living, and I do it every single day of my life. And I know what I'm doing when I set up a guitar. Now you might want to come and get an action down to 1mm. You're not going to be playing heavy metal. I absolutely guarantee it. You're not going to be twatting them strings because it's just impossible. So we need at least a standard we go to. Now my normal standard is 1.75 on the low E, 1.5 on the high E. That is what I call a normal setup. To go lower, we've got to straighten the neck. The reason I like bending the neck is, right, your strings vibrate more around here, and that's where you get the most bend. So we'll put that little bit of bend in. It means you can have a lower action at the 12th fret, but more vibration is allowed here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 1.6 and 1.4. That is my standard. And with that set, as I have it now, with the neck almost straight, with a bit of relief, probably got about 0.15mm relief at the 9th fret. That's lower than I would normally go, but in this instance I'm going to do it. And what I need to do now is I need to match the radius of the nut of the neck and the bridge, all the same. So we've got a 10-inch radius all the way along. So the 10-inch radius, I'm going to mention, I've got a radius gauge here. And I've zoomed in, I think I've zoomed in enough. And what I need to do is match this arc with the bottom of the strings. And then the bottom of the strings, that arc that way, is going to match the radius here and hopefully a radius at the nut. So with the action set, this is how I go about it. And I've already raised the strings higher than they need to be. And with the high E set and the low E set, where I want them, I've raised these strings ever so slightly. And I'm just going to drop them down to drop on this radius gauge. And we shouldn't need a lot of adjustment. And this Allen key, by the way, this comes with the guitar. This is great about PRS. They give you the right tools for setting up your guitar on the bridge and on the truss rod. Your truss rod adjuster is there. Perfect. So that's one great thing about PRS. What I'm doing now is I'm just dropping these strings onto the top of this radius gauge. I hope you can see, you get the idea. But we just drop it. I'm not worried about them being level at the moment because I'll sort the level out once I've got the strings where they need to be. And if the saddles aren't straight, what I will do is I will higher one side and lower the other until they are straight. But that is there, and now we have all of the strings resting on the top of the radius gauge, which means we've got a 10-inch radius there, with a 10-inch radius on the neck and a 10-inch radius on the nut. So that is where the strings need to be, and because these two are at the right height, that's perfect playing position. Now I'm just going to look at the saddles and make sure they are all horizontal. And I'll tell you what, I've made a pretty good job of that. This one's slightly high. So where it's high there, I'll turn it a 16th of the turn, and I'll go a 16th of the turn on the opposite side, and that should now have levelled out, and it has, it's perfect. And what we'll do the same again, 16th of the turn there, and 16th of the drop there. Let's have a look, and we've now levelled that saddle out, and we're going to do the same again. We're going to drop this side down a little, bring this side up a little. It's a common misconception that you have the saddles arcing over. That way you don't. You should have the saddles level, horizontal. And these are looking pretty good. Again here, down a tad, up a tad here. And they are looking really, really good. Just need to drop this one a tad. On this one. And that looks pretty good. We're a bit high on this corner. And I'll check again. And I'm really quite happy with that. So we have the saddle set. We have the height set on the outside string and the inside string, or the high E and the low E. It means the action should be perfect. I'm going to go and check again. And we are measuring beautiful 1.6 with a quick measure there, and about 1.4 there. So that to me is perfectly playable. We should get no buzz anywhere. Right, we're out of tune. That's not a problem. But what? We're just going to get close to where we need to be. So we are very close to tuning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the guitar properly tuned in, off camera again. Once we are properly tuned in, I'll show you how this bridge is set with the business cards still under there. And what we're going to do then is, once I'm happy that we have the guitar set right, we have it in tune, we have this bridge level with the business cards under there, we're going to remove these business cards, and the tremolo is probably going to oink back. And what we're going to do is then we're going to loosen the claw spring underneath the guitar until this becomes level again. And once we get the A string in tune, with this level, all the other strings should fall in tune. It means we'll have a floating bridge with all the strings in tune. We can pull back on the tremolo and we can dive bomb on the tremolo, and it should always return to pitch. I'll explain more about that when I have got this in tune and I'm happy with the bridge setting. I will move the camera for the next part so you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay guys, so we are now ready to set the tremolo floating, and these business cards have been here under this tremolo all the time I've been setting the guitar up. We now have the action where I need it to be, 1.6mm, 1.4mm, nice and low over the first fret, radius set on the saddles, that as low as I'd like to go with the action, nice straight neck. Maybe we'll get it a little bit lower if we really wanted to, but that for me is well good enough. So how do we set this tremolo floating? We want that tremolo or that bridge in that position with the business cards not there. So what I've done is I've tuned the guitar to pitch, I've set the neck, I've got the setup how I want it to be. What we're going to do next is we are going to remove these business cards. I'm going to remove them all in one go, and we are hoping that the bridge cocks backwards, which it will do. It pull backwards because we've got more pullback on the springs. So the springs are going to pull back when I remove the business cards, and we're going to pull the bridge backwards, making all the strings sharp. I'm going to take the tremolo on, because what we're going to do is once we remove these business cards, which I'm going to do right now, I don't like having the tremolo on in, but I'm going to leave it in. And we're just going to remove those business cards, and this tremolo should now pull back, and it has. It's pulled, I think you can see that it's pulled right back now, and probably show you even better from this angle. It's pulled right back. And what we need to do is we need to set that back in the horizontal position, and what we're going to do is we are going to release these screws, claw screws, and we're going to release it back enough for this guitar to become horizontal. And we'll keep checking the tuning, and once that A string is in tune with this horizontal, right, all the other strings will drop right in tune and we will have a floating tremolo. So I'm going to take a especially long screwdriver, this one, and we are going to start releasing these screws here. Now I'm sure, yeah, you can see. And I'm going to keep checking by eye and watch for a tremolo levelling out. And it could take a while. We are getting there. I'm always going to try and keep this claw horizontal this way, or this part level with this part of the guitar. It means we're going to get a good even pull throughout. Now we are getting very, very close, so I'm going to pluck a string, and we're still slightly sharp. So with the tuner there, A is still sharp, and I'm going to keep releasing these springs. Oh, we are so, so close. And the A is in tune. The D is a little bit sharp. G is a little bit sharp. The E is sharp. We're still going to come out a little bit more. Doesn't matter if we have to tweak a string or two. We're sharp on the higher strings, so we're just going to flat, flat on the bass side, I think if we just drop that A string in tune, that's good. And there you are. And that it is, there it is, and there we are. And there we have the guitar set up. We have the action right above the 12th fret, we have a radius set on the bridge, and we have the bridge floating. Let me just show you this way. And it means we can pull back with the tremolo, or we can push forwards with the tremolo. Absolutely beautiful. So that is the guitar set up. There's no more needs to be done there. Beautifully floating. The two outside screws are right down onto the tremolo or the bridge itself. The other four are turned back just a quarter turn, so we're using the outside two bolts as the pivots. Makes it like a fulcrum tremolo, and that is this guitar set up. One more thing I need to do. I need to put the truss rod cover back on the nut, or well, back over the truss rod. So I will crack on with that, and I will come back and we'll finish off this video. Back in a second. And here we are, all done. And what a very, very nice guitar it is. Came in just for a regular setup. Particularly, we needed to set the tremolo floating in the perfect floating position, which it now is. The tremolo works. It's balanced right. Regular setup, regular place. I say regular place setup, I make it probably sound a little less than it actually is. we always check the height of the strings above the first fret, which in this case is fine. The nut is fine. We had to re-radius the saddles, check the intonation. The intonation, I didn't have to touch anything. It was absolutely fine. The main thing with this was balancing the bridge and getting it set up right. I've got a super low action, too low for me. I would like it a little bit higher, but now the guitar is settled, we have the action down to about 1.3 millimeters on the low E, above the 12th fret, and about 1.15, 1.2 on the high E. It does play nice, there's no rattle or buzz. So that's okay. I may just put a tiny bit more relief in that neck, but I'm quite happy with how it is so far. There's no buzz anywhere up the neck. So it plays fine up and down. That is probably a little bit lower than I'd like to go, but I know Asad likes a nice low action, so I'm going to go with that. If he doesn't like it, we can tweak the truss rod a little bit, just to bring this action up at the 12th fret just a little bit more. But I think we're there. Really, really pleased. One thing I did do just before I came back was tighten up these tuners just a little bit, because they're a little bit loose. The guitar is staying in tune with the tremolo. The tremolo works very well. The coil tap works superbly. A little bit hard to pull. I would like to see a push-push on there rather than a pull-push. It just works easier, but the guitar is fine. So that is it. I don't know the model name. Very strange because it looks like it's got an American serial on there, but it's a bolt-on. I would say this is a PRS CE 24. I don't know any more than that. So that is it. This one is wrapped up. Going to get it back in its case and the owner can pick it up. Oh, I just want to mention the strings that went on here. Ernie Ball, Slinky, Cobalt. What's the difference between them and regular Slinkies? I don't know. Are they coated? I don't know. But anyway, that's what went on. Set in 942s. I'd have thought a little bit light for a guitar like this. I'd like to see 1046s on here. But it is up to the owner. It's the owner's preference. So that is it. This is this one done. So it's me, Vic, your fret friend, signing off until the next time. Before I go and check my website, facebook.com/ng17. That's facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. You can also go and check fretfriend.co.uk. That website's in process, but it is up there. So it's me, Vic, signing off, your fret friend. Until next time, boys and girls, God bless you, be good to each other, and I'll see you soon.